Hey everyone, it's Shadow Joker here, and welcome to not just the video, but the first installment of the series that I announced in my last video, YouTube Profiles. Those of you who didn't watch the announcement video, forgotten the time made me to take this video somehow, or are just new to the channel, first, before I explain, if you guys new to the channel, I hope you enjoy and decide to stick around, but just for anyone who forgot, or obviously if you're new, YouTube Profiles is a series where I pretty much take a YouTuber's content, do a deep dive, aka I watch a bunch of their videos and say what I like about them. So it's pretty much commentary video, except as opposed to just being filled with criticisms of a YouTuber who I don't like, well, at least not their content. It's just me explaining why I really like a YouTuber's content with some criticisms labeled in there just to be fair. I don't even know if I used that word correctly, but we're gonna go with it. For those who saw the announcement video, this first episode is gonna be on 8-Bit Ryan, so let's just hop right into things. So one thing I'd like to get out about that before we start talking about this, well, not this thing, because it's a person. Before we start talking about Ryan and his content, I'd like to make this clear. This series will not feature any, footage. I know it makes the video boring to watch, but at the same time, in case I do end up doing something that's more negative, I don't want to risk the off chance of the YouTuber I'm talking about seeing this and just not like it, so they strike down my video. It's just, even though I mainly try to make this a positive series, it's just something I'd rather not risk. Anyway, on to Ryan's content. Well, actually, before we get into the content in general, we should just start with an overview of Ryan. 8-Bit Ryan is a gaming and occasional reaction YouTuber who, I believe, started in 2015. Let me go double check that. So yes, I was correct. He started in 2015. His first big break on YouTube was Nixon's The Joy of Creation Reborn, and it was great at the time. Ryan was great, and he still is, obviously. And it seems like the basics for a, pretty decent YouTube channel. What makes him special? Well, obviously, I guess got the basics and, context out of the way. But there's even more. Ryan, this isn't his only channel. Has one other channel which he used to give green screen to those who were on his Reddit. But besides that, the other channel ran by his best friend, who was also named Ryan, but now goes by Bazamalan, so it's not just Ryan, otherwise is very confusing. Who technically is Baz not real now because he left the Bazamalan and Baz channels behind. It's kind of confusing, but I'm just here to give the context, not to give every single minute thing that happens in the 8-Bit Ryan and Bazamalam lore. Called 8-Bit Gaming, which early on was pretty much the same thing. They play games and occasionally react to things, which is what the kind of remain true to on their channel nowadays. As 8-Bit Gaming is still thriving, and I love it. But they also, in the early days, did a couple of cringy, very cringy nowadays Siri videos. At the time when I was a dumb kid watching, I was like, oh yeah, this is so cool. Nowadays, when I'm like, you know what, let's check out a good old 8-Bit Gaming theory. Oh my god, this is awful. Like, oh my god. What is this? What is this? It's not real. So yeah, lame overacting aside, that's pretty much the history. And as for Ryan's sort of friends, he has, well, back in the good old days, besides his obvious best friend Bazamalan, they have Dawko, Mr. Co's Games as I like to call him, Razbowski, well, Ryan DA Games. That was like the squad back in the day, and he's also hooked up with a YouTuber slash streamer named Carteria, aka Pauline. And ever since then, Ryan's met a whole slew of other content creators, so notable names being Yub and John Wolf. Ever since then, he's had a pretty tight inner circle with more than just the boys, even though me, as someone who's watched him for years, will always miss when it was just the boys. And not to mention his own brother is a YouTuber. Yeah, when you actually look into it, Ryan's, got a lot of YouTube friends. First, I was expecting, it's just gonna be the boys, but then I looked into them, like, holy crap, yeah, this is a lot of people you associate with Ryan. It's pretty epic, actually. But now for my thoughts on the content as a whole. So I said Ryan was a gaming channel, but what specific gaming does he do? Is he, just sort of Chuggaaconroy style, or Markiplier? Was it? He falls more into the Markiplier style, as he's a scare cam YouTuber. Mainly does horror games, but whenever he does branch out into other just quirky games and just shows his personality more, well, not personality more, I'm being stupid. Oh my god, know these videos are unscripted, but I could try and be more precise with what I'm saying. Something a bit different. It's a really fun experience, and I love it. He also does the occasional reaction video, which boil down to try not to laugh, try not to get scared, stuff like that. Mainly nowadays, he has his own subreddit, and occasionally he does reaction videos where he just reacts to memes and whatever people post on his Reddit. Whether that be the aforementioned memes, art, or cats. There are a lot of cats on the 8-Bit Ryan subreddit, and you should join us because if you like cats, this is going to be a cool place for you, trust me. We got a lot of good chonkers, just small little kittens. It's great. And he occasionally does a drumming music video, though these are rather rare, with the latest instance of this being when he did Friday Night Funkin' music on his drums. It was still pretty epic, though. So that's overall a few of Ryan's content as a whole, but what makes it special? Well, anyone who looks at Ryan's videos for more than a couple of seconds would immediately realize it's the editing. These videos are extremely over-edited. And is that a good or bad thing? The reason I mention this is sometimes over-editing can be a bit much, but whenever Ryan does it, it's a pleasant experience. And whenever he does something multiplayer with another person, it just feels weird to watch someone's point of view but his own due to how crazy the editing is. It's very good. It's just, editing is clearly a passion of his. And while he could get some sleep, more sleep, and not do his crazy edits, it wouldn't be an 8-Bit Ryan video without a crap ton of crazy edits. And even some of them, the less edited, longer videos, as he likes to call them, are, pretty over-edited for what is supposed to be less edited. So if you like a lot of editing, crazy sound effects, crazy visuals, Ryan is the content creator I'd highly recommend, because pretty much every video in his modern era has like so much crazy visuals, crazy sound effects, just everything. Turns everything up to 11, and that's what I really love about his content. Now as for Ryan as a personality, because whether they're a gamer, commentary channel, or I don't know, like a person, if you're a YouTuber, most of the time you have a personality, and like you're like one of those people who just post clips of other popular YouTubers or games. So what's Ryan's personality? Well, he's rather upbeat, and he's just a fun guy. There's not much I can really go into it. He's very positive, as I've been trying to be. And honestly, part of why I wanted to dedicate the first video of this series to him is he honestly helped me back when we locked down back in 2020, because at first I was like, yeah, it's gonna be fine. I'm just not gonna have to go to school for a couple of weeks and do some online work. It's cool. But then it just wasn't ending, and I was honestly getting depressed. I hadn't felt like this depressed and just not wanting to do anything and just everything melding together. When I fell asleep, before that point, it was just like, now I'm all rested up, time to start the day anew. But it just felt like I was getting knocked out for a brief period of time and continuing the same monotonous day. Whether it was light or dark out, it really didn't matter. And then I decided to watch Ryan again, because I've always watched his content still since my origins, which I'll get into in the next segment. And, well, I fell in love. His personality, editing, the games he played, especially the Reddit videos when he started doing that, they immediately took this damper that had just been weighing down on my spirit so much and told me, hey, things are gonna get better. Even though if it's been a year now and really things haven't, one day you're gonna get your normal life back, or at least as close to a normal life as you physically can. And that's true. Not too long after I started binge watching a lot of Ryan's content, I started seeing my boys, and before I knew it, I was back to being myself, not being depressed over the fact that it felt like I was just isolated and couldn't leave home ever. Now, admittedly, because we're supposed to stay inside, I still get bored a lot of the time, and well, he helped me out with that a lot. So, to be honest, Ryan, on the very minuscule chance that you're watching this video, I owe you, dude. Thanks for everything. You're not just a childhood figure of mine, you're someone who helped me out with a dark time. Whether you knew me or not, I honestly don't know if I'd still be making content if it wasn't for him, because, like I said, damper was playing on my spirit, and with my type of content, unless you kind of have to feel like you want to make content. Unless, of course, you're really big and you more so do it for money, but, like, making content when you're my size is something you have to want to do. If you don't like the content you're making and you don't even have 50 subs, then honestly, what's the point in making that content? I wasn't enjoying anything, so thanks, Ryan. even though I've said it way more times than I need to. Anyway, I've said that Ryan was a childhood figure of mine, but how did I properly get introduced to his content? Well, at first, I was a big fan of 8-Bit Gaming. I just found them when scrolling through FNAF videos because I grew up, well, I say grew up, but it was like I was still relatively young when indie games like franchises like FNAF and Undertale were still popping off. And thus, the FNAF franchise, whether it be fan games or official games, pretty much giving a jump start to Ryan's career as a YouTuber. That was around where I found him. I can't remember what exact video 8-Bit Gaming's was my first one. It was either a Happy Feet video or it was one of the FNAF 3 theories. I really can't remember. And despite the FNAF theories being bad, at the time I was a stupid kid, and to be honest, no one really said, hey, these theories were bad until they actually reacted to them and said, holy crap, these things are, like, really cringy. And, yeah, pretty much, that's how I started with 8-Bit Gaming, but since this is a video particularly about Ryan, where did I start watching 8-Bit Ryan, not 8-Bit Gaming? This is a vivid memory I have. When he started his Final Nights 2 series, I was just checking through my YouTube recommended, as I did at the time, being a little kid, watched a lot of YouTube, and I just went, Ryan has his own channel? That's sick! And yeah, I loved it. Final Nights 2, it was a great fan game franchise. Even though like the first game was kind of weird in retrospect, it's one of the better FNAF fan game franchises out there, and I'm glad this is how I started seeing Ryan as more of an individual, like, opposed to just him and Baz being best friends. Because they're both great content creators, so I'll talk about Baz one day. Now, as for the others, one of the last segments, where I pretty much list a bunch of different series that Ryan has done that I really like. Embrace yourselves, because there's a lot. We're going to start with some recent series. Henry Stickmin, as someone who grew up off of these games, seeing one of my favorite YouTubers play them all, the first time I saw him playing Breaking the Bank, Escaping the Prison, Stealing the Diamond, Infiltrating the Airship, and Fleeing the Complex, they brought back so many memories, and thanks, Ryan. As for some multiplayer stuff, Among Us was really good. That whole period of summer of 2020 was when I feel like some of his content really popped off, where he was meeting a lot of new people, so it wasn't just the boys, which, while my inner kid will just be like, no, Will, Taco, guys, goodbye. But seeing some new faces wasn't a bad thing. He introduced me to John Wolf, Corey Kenshin, and Yub, which, through some of these Among Us videos, which are people I'm really big fans of. Now, thanks, Ryan. Even though technically I knew about Corey Kenshin, but I never properly watched his content until after Ryan's Among Us videos. So, thanks. And there are still people from that massive collab I still want to check out, but haven't taken the chance yet. I'll get to you guys one day. I'll get to you. Obviously, the classic games that pretty much raised me off Ryan's content. Final Nights 1 and 2. The Joy of Creation. Reborn. Both the normal free mode. Free roam endless sort of mode. And the story mode. And Those Nights at Rachel's. Hello Neighbors. Another good example of that. Little Nightmares. Of course, Little Nightmares 2 is great. The Reddit series is awesome. 3 Random Games is just amazing. Even though it's not officially a series, the less edited, longer horror game episodes are very fun, and I could go on and on. And I think I will because FNAF VR and Ultimate Custom Night were really enjoyable experiences for me, and I think I'll stop. If I was looking through his playlist right now, there are probably tons of more of series I could pick, but I'm trying to pick those that stick with me and I love to this day. But here comes the bad part. The video where I have to criticize Ryan's content a bit. And once again, on the very, very, very off chance that Ryan is somehow watching this video, I just like to say, from what I've sung praise of your content, clearly I love it, but I'm just being fair in the sense that I'm criticizing you a bit. Now, I praise the editing. However, at one point in his YouTube history, he hit a point where it was perfect with his personality and just generally being funny and the editing being really good. I feel like nowadays, as much as I love the over-the-top editing and don't want the king, technically speaking, it does kind of outweigh the whole personality and comedy of Ryan. I still think Ryan is a very funny and entertaining dude without the editing, but it is technically something that could be improved on. So that's one big criticism. And I say one big criticism, but honestly, that's the only major criticism that I really think comes to mind. Outside of maybe branching out in the sense of, like, playing some more, like, just cool, fun games as opposed to just a shit ton of horror. I know we had that with, when he started Henry Stickmin, where he said that he should run his expectations a bit. So technically, this is a bit of a faulty criticism since he's already acknowledged it, but he hasn't been acting on it too much, so I still feel like it's a decent enough criticism to give. Anyway, those are my critiques. As you can tell from how much praise I sung of Ryan's channel, the pros outweigh the cons in this situation, and I think Ryan is one of the all-time best YouTubers. That is, I'm not even going to try and say, oh, I'm not biased, like, you only think his content that's good. He got me out of a dark place. Of course I'm going to hold him in high regard, and obviously not everyone's going to have the same experience as me when watching his content. I've been watching him for years, so he already had the I've been a long time fan excuse, but Ryan, your content is genuinely amazing, and I wish you the best in whatever you do. Whether it be continuing as a YouTuber or for some reason you have to quit, no matter what happens, I wish you the best of luck in your endeavors in life. Once again, on the off chance that you're watching this, which you probably aren't, but who knows. Anyway, this has been the first installment of my YouTube profile series. This has been Shadow Joker. Take care, and, well, I'll see you guys for what's next. Even though if you watch that update video, you know what's next, but whatever. I'll see you guys then.